All right, so go ahead and lay your pattern out and cut it out the front back piece. You have a belt piece and two facing pieces, and make sure that you transfer your cut line for the slit. I think that was the only thing that needed to be transferred over. Now, the first thing we're going to do is bring the front and the back together at the shoulder seam. So just line it up, pin it, and we'll sew at a 3/8 inch seam allowance across both shoulder seams. Make sure you're using a zigzag stitch like I'm doing here, or a serger to finish off your seams. You should have something a little bit like this, and you can always go back and cut the little flyaways later.
Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is put a stay stitch all along this edge, really close to the edge, and what that's going to do is give this, because this is such light flowy material, that will give that a little bit of some stability before we stitch the facing onto it. So let's do that now.
You could do a 1/4 inch stay stitch, but we'll just do it all the way around, and this gives it some stability and it keeps the fabric from stretching out and gives it some stability. All right, so now you should end up with something that looks a little bit like this. And now we're going to take our front facing piece and our back facing piece, and we're going to add some lightweight fusible interfacing to it. Now that we have the interfacing on both pieces, we're going to bring them together, right sides together at the shoulder seam. And we're going to go ahead and stitch at a 3/8 inch seam allowance across both sides. Go ahead and serge or zigzag your outer raw edge before we attach it to the front. It just makes it a little bit easier when we're done putting it all together. All right, you should end up with something that looks a little bit like this on the edges. And again, you can go ahead and trim those flyaway pieces if you want. Now, what we're going to do is bring the facing right sides together, align the shoulder seam, and make sure that you align the front. Take your time here, be really precise, because this is going to make a big difference. How you stitch this, you want to pay attention to the details. It's going to make a big difference when you stitch it all together. So just line up the shoulder seams, get everything put on, and then we're going to stitch this at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance all the way around. Now, when we get to the V, what you're going to do is mark it down enough where you can see it underneath your presser foot. You're going to get down to that line, lift your presser foot, go across one horizontal stitch, lift your presser foot again, and come up the other side. And this will make it lay nicer on the front when it's turned and pressed. So to get it to lay nice and flat on the front when you turn it, what you're going to do is clip into the seam. You're going to clip this V. Make sure that you don't clip into your stitches, but you're going to get as close as you can, and you're going to clip the curve at the top and see how this releases the tension and allows it to lay a little more naturally. Go ahead and clip the back curve as well. And when you turn it to iron it, you won't get any bubbles in the back. Before you turn it and iron it, what we want to do is turn it over and trim right along the stitch line to reduce the bulk. This will give the facing a really nice flat lay. So we want to trim it to about, you could do a 1/4 inch or a little bit less, maybe 1/8 of an inch, whatever feels good for you, but just get it as much of the bulk out as you possibly can before you turn it and iron it. Now bring it over to your ironing board. What I had to do here was kind of train a few of the seams down with the iron first before I fully turned it inward, and this just kind of helped it. When I did turn it, it did help it lay a little bit flatter. So after you press it, everything should look really nice and crisp. Your shoulders should lay nice and flat. And what we're going to do now is we're going to top stitch it about a 1/16 of an inch away from this edge, and this is going to keep the interfacing to the inside and also give it a nice finished look on the outside. All right, the next step is to overlock or zigzag your raw edges all the way down from the armpit all the way down to the hem. And you want to do these separately. They have to be finished on the edges for the next step, putting the slit in. Okay, now bring your side seams together, right sides together, and you're going to stitch at a 3/8 inch seam allowance all the way down to the notch or the marking for where we put the slit. And then you're going to use that side seam. We're going to press this open momentarily. We're going to use that side seam as a guide all the way down to the hem. So here I've pressed the seam open, and then you want to fold this raw edge back. This is the reason why we serged these separately. You're going to fold the raw edge back following the side seam, and you're going to take it over to the machine and stitch right along that raw edge. When we approach the side slit, what we want to do is follow the stitch line all the way up, and we're going to stitch across over and then follow that down the way that we did on the one side. I always press every seam that I stitch, just it helps the fabric lay a little nicer. So take it over to your machine and press it, and then we will begin to work on the hem. You're going to bring the hem over a 3/8 inch, press it, and then you're going to bring it a second time about 1.5 inches over and press it. and then we will take it to the machine and stitch it down right along from the inside, right along that top edge. All right, now let's do the armhole. You're going to fold it over 1/4 of an inch to the wrong side and press, and then you'll fold it again 1/2 an inch to the wrong side and press, and that'll give us a nice little a little hem. It'll look so nice from the outside and be finished on the inside. So let's do that now. Now let's bring this over to the machine, and we're going to stitch right along that top edge from the inside, just about a 1/16 of an inch seam allowance from that open edge right there. Stitch that down on both armholes. And finally, we have the tie. Let's bring them right sides together and stitch at 3/8 inch seam allowance, and then bring them right sides together, and we'll stitch all the way from the top edge down to the other edge, making sure to leave about a 4-inch gap to turn it.
All right, after you've turned it, you want to take it over to the machine, over to your iron, and iron it flat. And so now we have to close up that hole, but what we're going to do is just top stitch along the entire outer edge. So we'll start
that hole, but also to finish out the belt to make it look nice.
Okay, I was not ready for how much I love this freaking pattern. Let me show you.
Okay, first of all, the belt, you could tie it. So let me show you without the belt. Okay, it's a caftan, slit side. Okay, so, I mean, look at this. Look at the sleeves. I absolutely love it. Now, if you decide that you want to put the belt on, I mean, you could do like a low belt. Let me just do it right at my waist to kind of give you an idea. Tied in the back. You could also bring it around to the side. You can pull this up. You could do a lot of stuff with this. You could use a really wide belt, like, let's pretend this is a wide belt. You could bring it and do something like this. In a contrasting color. So that is it for me today for this sew along. I ended up loving this dress. Please follow me on Instagram at Always Shine Your Heart
And I will leave I may have to put like a little link tree in my bio so that you guys can find the links, because some of the creators that I've purchased patterns from do not have Instagram. Anyway, that's it for this sew along. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what we should do next, and I'll see you on the next video.